Hey, it's Chris. Should you back Cloudspire? Harbinger? The last, final iteration of Cloudspire. One versus one, tower defense style, MOBA-esque, heavy game from Chip Theory. It's going. Let's go. So obviously, if you're looking at this, you're interested in Cloudspire, right? Is this the jump in point? Is this the time, as the first point on this video, of where you should be jumping in? Absolutely not. No, this is a horrible jumping in point. When you go over to the page in general, it starts listing out all of the things that are new and different with these three factions, right? It's new, it's completely asymmetric, completely different than what you've seen before. That's scary words. Like, it's enticing, it's alluring, it's a siren's call, but it reminds me very eerily similar of the Too Many Bones and that last campaign as well, where they said, hey, here's a whole bunch of new stuff we haven't done before, right? Wink, wink, nod, nod. You know what? Again, not a great jumping in point. It's not a great jumping in point here either. These expansions are expensive. 3 expansions for $110. The base game alone on Chip Theory's website sells for $150. So when you look at it from that aspect of things, it's not a horrible deal because that comes with 4 factions, and the 3 expansions in the little promo pack are what you're looking at on the crowdfunding campaign page. But comparatively, with the at least 3 other expansions from previous campaigns, and from this campaign as a whole, the Liege, Horizon's Wrath, the Uprising previously, Graft Shot a Keel, which one of these are going to appeal to you, right? That is the allure of getting this, but with a lot of crowdfunding campaigns, whether it is currently Rose Gauntlet, whether it is All Play, whether it is Bitewing, you are never better off buying more of them. More money, and you are not going to find the asymmetric faction that you love solely by buying them all, throwing them at the wall, and seeing what happens, right? That's the trouble. And these expansions, and again, you can get a slight keyword advantage of guessing what they are in that sense, but the truth is, until you play some of these, you won't know. And so if you buy 3 and like one, that's great. You just spent $100, $110 before shipping to find one faction new that you like. Asymmetric games like this, where you're having to piecemeal them, you are better off piecemealing them rather than buying them bundled up. Again, I'm not speaking or saying bad game, but I'm also saying that this game needs to be absolutely a lifestyle game for you. There is $400 worth of content for this game that you can buy. Any game that is going to be costing you over, I would say nowadays on crowdfunding, you know what, let's set the bar a little higher here, $200. It better be something that is more of a lifestyle game than not. And what I mean by that is you better be playing this frequently. Or it goes back to my other video where I said board game unpopular opinions. It's a potentially status symbol, very loosely interpreted there, but it's more of I have it rather than I'm getting it played. And if you want to be a collector instead of a game player, I'm not going to argue with you. To each their own. I'm not going to say you can't collect either, but I want you to buy games that you will be able to get to the table well played, which brings up the next point. 36-page rulebook for a base game that is not insignificant. And but like one of the other reviews I'm getting in the process of doing right now, the rule books are often written in the sense that you know what you're doing and then they're easy to incorporate. These are not easy comparatively rule books to other market-based games. And again, I don't say that as they're bad rule books, but as someone who reads 20 plus rule books a week essentially for a crowdfunding roundup, they are a little bit tougher of a slog to get through. And this begs the question, when you have, again, not that it's too many rules pages, but so much nuance and errata that goes along with it, of having 9 different elements on a single chip in the first place that you're having to know in an asymmetric skirmish style game, where it's not just, right, what you can do, it's knowing what your opponent can do. That goes back to the lifestyle aspect that I was just mentioning. And so now you have 4 factions plus the 3 previous factions as well. And now you're going to add 3 factions more on top of that. You're not going to have a clue what any of those expansions do, because truth be told, the hardcore people that are really wanting this, you're going to want to play it repeatedly so you can develop a meta, so you can develop the dynamics of a root style, Summoner Wars 2-esque, whatever it may be, pick your poison, god tier vibe, to get the full emphasis on the right syllable in terms of the gameplay. Right? That's why you get into this. That's why you're looking at this in the first place. You want to make this the end all be all ultimate skirmish MOBA tower defense-esque game that you can. But it's going to require that much depth of play, 2 to 3 hours every single time. And if you're not playing it that often, are you going to have the time to relearn it and the minutia every single time? If you do, that's okay. If you don't mind it, that's okay. Go for it. Again, I think people that like this game really frickin' love it, because, you know, scouring the Board Game Geek forums for criticisms on this game, well, you know how Board Game Geek skews, and it's hard to find any negatives whatsoever. So, you know, if you're going to fanboy all over the fanboyism that is of this, and that's okay if you do it. But if you're going to spend $250,000 for this game to get all of what it entails, this better be the best game for you of all time as well. It better be a better fit for you. And again, I would argue that this crowdfunding campaign is not the time, nor the place, or the price point to find that out. You find somebody else's copy to play. You find someone else's copy to trade for or to buy on the secondary market. Because you know what? Guess what? You're going to be able to late pledge a couple months from now, and there is absolutely zero reason for you to back it during the crowdfunding campaign if you have not played it and know that you love it. Right? That should be, you know, almost all campaigns, but that's a whole nother video as well. And yes, you'll get tons of stretch goals. This probably has the most stretch goals on crowdfunding that a Too Many Bones, Chip Theory, Cloudspire, Hoplomachus has ever had. Don't take me for my word at that, but it has a ton on the page right now. And so the question is that FOMO the reason you're getting it? Because Chip Theory has also not made anything exclusive, but they make a lot of these smaller promos a little bit hard to get. But the core element of it is the same, is that these little trinkets to go alongside, if they're either essential and they're awesome, well, I would expect them to show up later. If they're not, and they're more Blood Rage, Rising Sun, Ankh situation exclusive-ish, well, then you're not missing out in the first place, and it's not going to change your core experience in general speak. And you're better off with the stuff that you know you're going to like. You've got an already significantly over-the-top deluxeified game in terms of playmats and chips. And again, I have nothing wrong with that. The tactile feel, the table presence, whatever the hell that means, is fine. And if you enjoy that, just like miniatures, just like your coins or other aspects of deluxeifications, your game tray inserts, that's almost the banana on top of the hot fudge, on top of the cherry, on top of the whipped cream, on top of the sundae in the first place. You get where I'm saying there? It's just so much extra over the top. I go, at what point also did we jump the shark with the deluxeifications too? But it's a thing and people like it, so I don't fault them for putting out something that people are willing to throw money at in the first place. But I mean, deluxeified on top of deluxeified on top of deluxeified too. Is there a limit? I guess just on superfluous looking at the descriptions of these 3 expansion factions as well, the Graft, the Shada, and the Keel, all seem to be slightly more complex in my layperson's view of things, which goes back to my earlier point of the not a great probably get in factor right now. And so that's not a bad thing, right? Some people are ready to, you know, jump headfirst into the deep end and get all of it. But the main crux of a game like this is just like when somebody gets started on a new medication, right? if you're taking medication for the first time. Sometimes you start with a low dose, not because it's going to be the, most best awesome thing in the world for you, but it's that if you start off at a higher dose, you may have side effects. You may not tolerate it if it's just not a perfect fit. So if you dive in too deep and you're too overwhelmed, if they're too different, too out there in terms of how they twist the normal mechanics of the game around in the first place, even if they're done in an amazingly cool, different, completely out of the box way, which I love, and I love seeing people experiment with mechanics like that. As a layperson, Nui, is that going to be the best place for you, or is that going to leave a bad taste in your mouth, especially if you're really excited about it in the first place? Because the bottom line of this is, as I alluded to earlier, Chip Theory doesn't put stuff out that's exclusive. Maybe super difficult to get, but it's not exclusive with any of these packages. And so the core experience of any of these expansions will be available later for a slightly higher price point. Say it with me. You can spend a little bit more money later to make sure you freaking love it. Isn't that better than buying it, regretting it, and trying to get rid of it or sell it or have it collect dust because you found out you don't like it, but you're too lazy to get rid of it, like someone else that nobody else does like that, right? Nobody else does that. That's the conundrum in this situation. So again, not about a great game, a bad game, anything else along those lines. It's doing unique things. But I would also argue at this point, as a solo, cooperative, scenario-driven-esque, it is more of a puzzle type game, non-PvP. The solo cooperative is a min-max puzzle-esque vibe that is more solve it rather than creatively finish it. And that may not be something that is a downside for you, but I know personally speaking, when I'm given a scenario, I want to feel really clever. I don't want to feel formulaic, and that's a fine line that you're blurring there as a whole. But with games like this and City of Kings, they left me feeling more of the there's this one way to do it, and if you don't do it that way, you're going to fail. And I like having multiple ways to do it in different aspects. And so again, that's my limited experience talking, and I'm probably wrong. But if you're soloing this, that has to be at least a thought of which do you prefer things to be on the side of, right? If it leans one way or the other, not that I'm saying, again, that it's clearly just that, but is that going to be something that you're saying, yeah, you know what, Chris? I really enjoy a good puzzle. I enjoy a Where's Waldo. Or is it, you know what? This is the end goal, and you can accomplish it 17 different ways with how you want to do it, a la maybe a Mage Knight situation. Using those apples to turn them into apple pie, applesauce, or apple buffet, however you can, but still being able to do it in your own particular manner. So there is Cloudspire Harbinger. Is it right for you? Is it wrong for you? Things to make you really think things through carefully so that you're only getting it because you love it and you'll be able to get it to play, hopefully. Not because you're FOMOing, not because you're looking at grass is greener. Oh my gosh, it's the last time I'm going to be able to get it, and I'm getting it only for those reasons. There you go, Cloudspire. Check it out. Chip Theory Games. Give them a look-see. Peace out. Good friends of the channel. I will see you later. Subscribe, hit the thumb button. I should really learn to say that earlier in the video. I'm not good at that. It feels like I'm a shill. Ha!